Hello everyone. My name is Strange, and I believe that people should know the truth. After the video that revealed the terrible story of the rape of a Chinese woman by reptilians, a lot of hype arose. Not only you, dear viewers, began to ask about the fate of the poor girl, but also representatives of the press from around the world began to write to me by mail. Unfortunately, there are too many of you, and I am unable to track everyone and understand who is really a journalist and who is an agent of special forces, whose task is to track my real location. Therefore, I decided, instead of an interview, to make public the following materials that I have. In the archives of the U.S. Special Forces, all documents on this case are labeled as Project Child. Therefore, all videos regarding this story, as well as on our channel, will be in the playlist Project Child. In order to ensure the safety of my source, all names have been changed, and the documents have been given an artistic color. And so I'm starting. Helen walked along the corridor, which was dimly lit by 2 lamps above the entrance and 1 above the exit sign. It was possible to get to this corridor by elevator or stairs. The girl walked 5 floors up the stairs, considering it an obligatory sports norm for herself. That evening, Helen had to check the vital signs of 2 patients housed in a separate unit. Everything seemed a little strange. Yes, a little bit. Everything seemed very strange. But the job suited Helen. After all, they paid disproportionately more here than at her previous job, at the Juneau Clinic in Oklahoma. The moat was closed, but it didn't interest me. The main thing is not to ask questions and do your job right. Washington is here after all. Helen went into the first box. On a cot under huge panels, equipped with various sensors, there was a girl covered with a white sheet. In addition to the bed, there were life support devices, automatic filtration and air supply systems in the ward. 2 days ago, the girl was under an airtight hood. Helen called this person a Chinese girl. In fact, she was a Chinese woman, beautiful as a porcelain doll. The sheet was heaving with a large tummy. The girl was pregnant. Helen checked the readings of the devices, examined the catheters, and replaced the IVs. They had to be changed every 3 hours, and each time the drugs were changed. The Chinese girl slept all the time, but it was necessary. For what? Helen simply showed loyalty and did not ask questions, and the appearance of the head of the research center did not cause a desire to be frank. Scott Santorini was friendly, but always distanced himself, limited to polite greetings and orders. But it also didn't hide from Helen how Santorini was looking at her hips and ass, accentuated by a white robe. Helen came out of the first box and headed down the corridor to the second. The door was marked Incubator No. 2. Here's another oddity: the boxes were not called maternity wards, but incubators. From the order on the closed Project Child, after investigating the incident that happened to Yun Fei Hong, vaginal invasion committed by reptilian alien creatures, hereinafter referred to as Nagas, which ended in pregnancy, I'd order 1. Redirect part of the research forces to support the entire period of pregnancy up to delivery. 2. To ensure the preservation of Yun Fei Hong, hereinafter referred to as the living incubator, until delivery. After conducting a specialized study, if no genetic or other changes are detected in the incubator body, then the incubator should be transferred to the lethargy stage with the maintenance of vital signs for further use as an incubator. 3. After delivery, ensure careful monitoring and life support of a newborn hybrid of Naga and a representative of the Mongoloid race, live incubator. Consider the date of delivery as the beginning of the implementation of the child project. J. Watowicz, head of the Center for Special Research and Operations. After 4 months, John Watowicz stepped on the gas, ignoring the cars in his lane, drove around, cut off, and honked the flashing light for the whole block. It was not accepted, but he actively used it. The road was open for him, well, perhaps also for the ambulance, firefighters, and police. Contrary to the security protocol, the head of the Special Operations Center was driving himself, and he was guarding himself. To do this, he had a good old Desert Eagle in his chest cab, and a reliable PKK machine gun lay on a special stand in the trunk. Yes, it was the PKK. These Russians knew how to make weapons, and they knew how to fight like devils. Watowicz was driving in front of the Aladdin Cinema, swearing to himself at the Latinos, straddling the steps at the entrance with their asses. The Russians were stubborn fellows. They'd almost killed John himself in Yugoslavia. I wonder if their intelligence is aware of what kind of research is being conducted in the United States. John Watowicz parked his car in the backyard of a nondescript building that housed a small conference room. The building was disguised as an abandoned paper mill, but it was well guarded and had all the necessary equipment. There was a soldier inside, who, in addition to guarding the premises, was engaged in registering visitors. John Watowicz returned the military salute. "Is the doctor in place?" "Yes, sir. He is waiting in the office, where the necessary equipment has been installed." Watowicz nodded and headed up the stairs to the second floor. The doctor was the head of the curator of all research on extraterrestrial beings related to their anatomy and physiology. It was Scott Santorini. In the office, the men greeted each other with restraint. Watowicz sat down at his usual place at the table. Santorini sat in a velour armchair. "Mr. Santorini, have you received certain results on the child project?" The doctor nodded. "Yes. Would you like to read the official report, or—" Watowicz took the proffered folder and put it aside. "The full report, of course, will be studied by me later. Now, I would like to hear your opinion." Santorini smiled. A briefcase lay at his feet. The doctor lifted it onto his lap and opened it. He took out a videotape. John Watowicz's eyebrows went up. "Is this a VHS? Where did you dig her up, Doc?" Santorini grinned again. This grin often infuriated Watowicz. So this time, a thought flashed through the officer's head. "But Dr. Italian, my God, where are the United fucking States going? But there was once the South of America, there was a confederation, and to hell with it. We specifically use video equipment, since a digital analog can be read during the demonstration or upload to the server. You yourself ordered total secrecy." Watowicz was silent and waited for the Italian doctor to insert the videotape into the tape recorder. Come to think of it, record on VHS, observing secrecy. The doctor, of course, was an ace in medicine and research, but the initiative in terms of secrecy was absurd. Watowicz remembered watching porn movies with glib German girls on about such cassettes, but that was a long time ago, back in military school. Then the need for these tapes disappeared by itself. There were girls who could easily be stuck. Santorini finally inserted the cassette and took the remote control from the VCR. "Are you interested in the delivery process, or should I go straight to embryo testing and research?" Watowicz choked on the coffee he poured himself from an automatic coffee maker, while Santorini was tormenting the tape recorder. "Straight to the trials." Santorini turned on the rewind, and a white preparation table appeared on the screen, on which the dissected embryo was located. From the official report of the anatomical studies of the embryo, Scott Santorini. In the process of delivery, the incubator died. The embryo was extracted by partial dissection of the vagina together with the uterus. The appearance of the embryo is an elongated, oblong body of no more than 25 centimeters in an elongated position. Without fixation, it tends to collapse into a ring. The back and underbelly are covered with placoid scales. On the processes below and above, for simplification, arms and legs, rudimentary claws, and horny plates. The embryo lived outside the incubator body for 24 hours, after which vital activity ceased. Currently, the embryo has been dissected. The main organs, brain, glands, and skeleton have been isolated. Watowicz got up from the table. He was furious. Santorini, with a phlegmatic face, took the cassette out of the tape recorder and put it in a briefcase. "We didn't kill him, but his body couldn't stand the conditions outside the incubator." "No need to yell, Mr. Watowicz. John has cooled down a bit, but I ordered to provide." Santorini has raised his voice now. "Provide what? The impossible. I repeat, the embryo's organism could not exist outside the incubator. Study the report. Maybe it will calm you down. An excellent perspective has been obtained. We are examining the glands in addition." "Except what?" Santorini approached the table. "We are currently supervising the second incubator." Watowicz, who had sat down on a chair, stood up again. "How? From where?" Santorini looked arrogantly at the officer. "We isolated seminal fluid in the gonads of the embryo." Yes, you can imagine. The embryo had a developed reproductive system with the possibility of fertilization. Do you understand what this means? Watowicz understood perfectly well that any embryo could become a potential raw material for fertilization, of course, by medical methods of any earthly woman. This meant that the child project did not focus on a single embryo. The experiments could be continued until it was possible to breed a viable individual. Yes, I understand. You must continue the experiments until a stable result is achieved. What do we have in the bottom line from your research? Santorini went to the coffee maker and took out a disposable cup from the stand. Let's discuss some nuances, Mr. Wojtowicz. First of all, let's choose the tone in our mutual communication. We work in different departments, and you are in charge of all projects. But nevertheless, I am not your subordinate. Wojtowicz nodded, and Santorini continued. Scientific details will not tell you anything, but in short, we will get access to new materials, substances. Perhaps we will make a lot of discoveries in medicine, which in the future can be used by your department. Doctor, I have not been at war for a long time, although you are right here. If the results can be used to solve military issues, then the research has the right vector. And what about the second incubator? Who is she? Santorini looked coldly into Wojtowicz's eyes. Are you really interested in this? From Scott Santorini's personal diary notebook. The patient was taken to the research center in an unconscious position. A perfect specimen for a future incubator. We decided not to deviate from the original version. A girl at the peak of reproductive ability, 23 years old, a Mongoloid race, to be more precise, a Korean woman was selected. Currently, it is located in block number 2 for preliminary preparation. Even before the delivery of incubator No. 1, I performed an ultrasound of the fetus and revealed the fact that the gonads of the embryo were filled with seed. An abdominal puncture was performed. The seed was isolated and preserved. Tomorrow we plan to fertilize incubator No. 2. The whole gestation process lasts from 3 to 4 months without egg formation in the classic version of reptile reproduction. It was noted that the uterus of the incubator is compacted and calcified, but in insufficient volume. This is exactly what causes death during delivery. Extensive uterine ruptures. Currently, incubator No. 1 is on the deadline for a possible discharge of waters in the coming days. Surveillance is enhanced. There was a postscript at the bottom of the diary page. This nurse, Helen, is very good looking. I'm very excited by her ass. It's a pity. Wojtowicz will most likely order her to be liquidated by his scumbags. 3.5 months later, Santorini raced at full speed in an official car to the research center. The specialist in charge of embryo management, who replaced Helen at the main post, was yelling into the phone. Mr. Santorini, we have all the signs. Getting ready to stimulate fetal movement. The center has been switched to a closed mode. Santorini calmly listened to the subordinate's screams and replied, Calm down. No need to yell. Pull yourself together. Is the duty group in place? Great. Follow the embryo preservation protocol. I'll be there in a few minutes. Have you informed Wojtowicz about the upcoming event? No? Great. Don't tell anyone. Santorini entered the room and approached the table. The incubator was unconscious. Stimulate and bring to consciousness. Childbirth should take place naturally. We observe the full range of measures for natural childbirth. After extraction, fix the incubator to the cot and place the embryo on her chest. The assistant doctors exchanged glances, which did not escape Santorini's eyes. If the embryo dies, I will personally suspend you. You know what it means to you. If you think that this is not proof of the existence of aliens, then you are right. There is much more evidence, and on our channel, we will reveal all the secrets and evidence of their presence. Subscribe to the channel and send me your stories related to aliens by email. You will find contacts in the About the Channel section. If I haven't answered you, then I'm still checking on you, because the special services of all countries have announced a hunt for me. But together we will force the authorities to disclose all the information they have. After all, people should know the truth.